E-commerce brand founders are making this mistake all the time, and it's literally costing them tens of thousands of dollars per month in revenue with their online store. So I'm going to go through exactly what this is and what you should be doing instead to make sure that you can recoup what I would consider losses or opportunity costs. So this is stemmed off the back of conversations I have in my paid community, my Ecom Blueprint and Uplevel Mastermind, where we help e-commerce brand founders scale to their first 10K, 20K, 50K a month and beyond that. And as I said, we have discussions like this all the time. Now, what this specifically is, what I'm talking about, is what I would consider, but not easy to see for someone who's inexperienced or new to the game, is dividing attention and focus in amongst different business models. So let me use this example. So if you've decided to start an online business at selling products online, that is obviously the online side, the e-commerce side of your business. Now, what founders typically start to do as opportunities come their way, as they start to get attention from people in the market, they get opportunities that come through left, right, and center, whether it's agencies or wholesalers or God knows what. There's so many opportunities out, or shiny objects rather. If you don't know what to do, you end up in a lot of overwhelm and you go down all these paths that lead to nowhere basically. So once you have a presence online, you start to get opportunities such as retail or wholesale or distribution, something along those lines. Now I'll use this example of the online store owner that sees approached by a store that wants to stock their items. Okay, makes complete logical sense. It's just another, more product, a bit of, margin obviously on top, but we're doing bulk and we're getting volume and customers are knowing about them through their retail stores, and it makes a whole lot of sense. Everything's fantastic. But what seems to happen after, say, this one opportunity or this one relationship is you need to keep feeding the beast. Oh, what if I go to 1 store, 10 stores, 20 stores, 100 stores? How good will that be for my volumes and for my revenues, right? Not so good for the profits, but hopefully you've got enough profit in there to obviously do the wholesale arrangement anyway. And what happens with this shiny object or this temptation is the online side gets neglected. Now, if you're in this situation right now, or you're going to be in this situation right now, I kind of know what you're thinking because it makes, again, logical sense. We're selling our products. Why would it matter what actual means we're selling them by? I totally get that. And I agree with you in the sense of being able to sell more volumes and get more exposure. But in terms of the main focus and why you start an online business in the first place, it completely detracts away from that strategy. So the biggest lesson I can give you, the mistake that people make mostly, is thinking that it is just par for the course, or it is just easy, or it's not detracting away from anything. Because as you go down that garden path of trying to get more retailers, by wholesaling your products, obviously at half the price, that's just how the economics work. That is, every minute that you go down that path is distracting you or detracting you from your online side of your business, therefore really suffocating the opportunity that you have there. So again, the experience and the hindsight moments of having this discussion with ecom brand founders is I'm like, how many more things could you have done? How much more time? How much more marketing? How many more ads? How much more expense? How many more products could you have done if you dedicated what you did over here to your online business? And they say, well, at least double the amount, meaning they were splitting their attention basically 50-50, sometimes more, sometimes less, but any percentage away from your online side is going to restrict your potential and capability there. And also basically prevent you from solving problems. Because a common thing that people will think by going to this wholesale side over here is the ads are really hard over here. The organic traction doesn't get much traction. My emails maybe aren't hitting people because I got 10 people in my database. This is the shiny object over here. This seems way easier, but I can tell you it's not. Right? There's shit on the other side of the fence as well. If you think the grass is greener, that's basically how business works. Okay. There's pros and cons to both. And even people that get both platforms to work didn't do them at the same time. They stuck with one. They dedicated themselves to one. If it was wholesale, it was wholesale. And then they branched out to their own retail, or vice versa. They did the online side. And then only when they've mastered that, when they're happy with that and they got the time and headspace to expand, then they can do that on the wholesale side. And that way they've got a lot more bargaining power, a lot more control, a lot more experience over how the system should actually work. And they know that they can actually feed the beast of the online retail side. Because again, another big thing that people don't realize is, yes, it's cool to move stock and volume, but suddenly again, you're suffocating the ability you have to sell online and that product online. And especially during pivotal periods like sales periods, Black Friday, Christmas, end of financial year, etc. If you could be selling it for twice the profit, 3 times, 4 times the profit as you do the wholesale, that's obviously what you'd prefer to do. But if you're stuck in some sort of engagement or relationship with all these wholesalers, then it's just never going to work out well for you. So the big picture of this discussion is where basically not to distract yourself with different business models. That's how I actually classify it. You're selling the same thing, but it's actually different business models and requires different skills and requires absolutely its own divided attention, right? Any minute that you detract away from your online side is a distraction, and therefore you should avoid it. Like the plague, you should be so disciplined. They're the ones that succeed, that get to this multiple 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures per year, is they only do that one thing. And that's something that I always talk about with clients in my Ecom Blueprint community. Is when I co-founded Karmic, our cold pressed juice company in 2013, we did go down that little path. We did do a bit of wholesale. We did do little cafes, and there were certain restrictions there from a capacity and margins perspective that sort of stopped us doing that really early on, thankfully. If we didn't have those restrictions, then we probably would have continued and completely detracted away. The business only done for the last 13, 14 years, direct consumer, online only. Okay, and I say to people that come into the Ecom Blueprint community is, that's all I know, that's all I specialize in, and we're bloody good at it, right? I don't know retail, I don't know wholesale. Of course, I'm familiar with it, but I don't profess to be an expert at that thing. I'm only expert at the online e-commerce sales. So I see that as a skill. I'm not interested in helping people with that. I'm not interested in helping people with, Amazon. It's, again, completely different business model. So you need to understand that each funnel, I guess, that you get people through the door in terms of driving traffic and converting that traffic is a different business model and a different set of skills. And I don't know anyone that I can think of that has mastered multiple skills, at least not in the beginning. It was sequential. They mastered that, then they moved on. They mastered that, then moved on. It wasn't all at once they were trying to master all these skills. It just won't work, and it doesn't work. And I've seen people go down multiple routes and fail because they were distracted. They were trying to do too much all at once, and they couldn't master the one thing that they knew they had to. Okay, so that's just my observations. I guess my 2 cents on splitting your time and attention and how that is really sacrificing both routes of success. Right? I'd rather see someone say, "No, I'm only going to do wholesale and not the online," versus I'm going to try and do both, build them both up at once. It just doesn't work. It's not good for you or the business. All right, just trust me on that. I've seen too many people fail going down that route. Okay, so that's all I just wanted to touch on. If you're doing online, focus online. One business model, one funnel, one set of ads, one website, one thing to master at a time, and knowing all of it that is in sync, not splitting time and attention elsewhere. That will lead to failure. Okay, so look, I hope this was valuable for you. If it was, I love a like, I love a subscribe. I'm providing videos and value like this all the time about scaling e-commerce brands. So it's great to have you here and part of this community. If you want to know more about how we help e-commerce brands, you can click on the link below, check it out, have a chat if it sounds like it might be right for you or worth exploring. But other than that, I appreciate you for being here. Thanks for watching till the end, and I'll catch you in the next one.